So I've got the Bucs as the 1 seed, and they do have a very easy schedule somehow because it's Tom Brady.
They somehow managed to get literally. I tweeted this out like as I was going through my predictions and I
think I disagreed with you, but I think I looked at stats and I'm like, oh, they do have like the second easiest schedule.
Yeah, it's like their schedule is so unbelievably easy.
Brady sold his soul to the same devil as Nick Saban. Like it's ridiculous how many breaks they catch.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Blaiden Kirk, joined as always by the two greatest co-hosts of all time in Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. How are you guys today?
Good, awesome.
Why did you pause?
Because we didn't know who was going to say hello first. I was trying to be polite.
You know what? That's
Theo
a good point. You know what? I've always thought, why do they not respond right away? But that's a good point. I always ask both of you at the same time how you're doing instead of being like, Matt, how you doing? Theo, how you doing? So
I'm gonna make an age before beauty joke, but I'm older than Matt, so I can't.
Matt is the youngest on the podcast.
That is true.
By a pretty wide margin too. It's not.
It's like 8 months or something. It's not that wide.
It's a pretty big gap.
It's not even it's like 5. What are we talking about?
It's still almost half.
You're both 20. It's not a big gap.
I'll be 21 first, man. It's I don't even have a reason to be 21, and I'm gonna be 21 first.
What are we getting into today, Blake?
But we have a pretty big episode. This is going to be a pretty massive episode. We're going to talk a little bit about college football. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFL season opener, Thursday night game, Dallas Bucs. That should be a great one. And then the meat and potatoes of this episode, we're going to do our entire playoff predictions. So it's a jam-packed episode for sure. But as always, make sure you guys leave a review, subscribe, comment. As always, on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Keep this podcast going on all platforms. And if you haven't yet, make sure you follow at StayHotPod on TikTok for some great content there as well. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a predictions episode. That's really what this comes down to. Playoff picture, that kind of stuff. Now, before we get into all the predictions and stuff, we're going to start things off with a voicemail of the day. The Stay Hotline is now brought to you by Mint Mobile. And I don't think it's an understatement to say that we are pumped, right? Our first official sponsor on Stay Hot. But let's hit the voicemail.
Hello, my name's Ethan. I'm from Arkansas, and individually throughout the group, who do you think has the best takes and then also the worst takes?
Oh.
I might have both.
I was going to say that. Unironically, I don't know. It's not even that you will have the best and worst. It's that you have so many that it's just bound that you're going to have some that work out really well and some that don't work out really well.
This has got to be the most cop-out answer. You got to pick one person.
Okay, the worst take I've heard from any of us has come from Blaiden.
I'm going to be real with you.
I understand.
I think you got both of us beat for worst takes.
The Blaiden said a take in Vegas that was so horrific.
Wait. We're not talking about the Saints? We're not talking about the Saints?
No, we're not talking about the Saints. We're talking about a take worse than that. And I don't even know if I should say it. The Tom Brady prospect take is
oh my gosh, bro.
That's an awful take, yeah.
No, it's
Blaiden
not.
said, okay, should I say it? Because this is a really bad
that Tom Brady was actually a good prospect.
No, it was
scouted him.
It was that Tom Brady was like a top 5 quarterback prospect of all time.
Oh,
Tom Brady is a top 5 quarterback prospect ever. Every team missed on him, and he was one of the best prospects to ever come out in the 6th round, and he got drafted in the 6th round. But it was clear that he was going to be the greatest from his college film.
I don't know if I would say it was clear he was going to be the greatest, but it should have been clear that he was going to be really good.
I think what happens with you, Blaiden, is that you'll get on the right track about something, and then you'll take it to the most ridiculous extreme. The Saints are going to be worse next year because they have salary cap problems. They're not going to win a game. It's you know what I mean?
Or the Browns are going to be good this year, and so I say they're going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Brown
I mean
Super Bowl
that's not
take's
even
a hot
that's
take,
not
but
even a
it's not
bad take.
insane.
Like that take is not crazy. The Tom Brady one is one of the crazy. No disrespect, but that one was a little.
I
bit
did
out
take
there.
it back. He is not a top 5 prospect of all time. All right, you forgot to mention that part where we hashed it out, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, like probably not a top 5 quarterback
I
prospect.
don't remember that happening. To be
No, that definitely
honest.
did.
What do
That
you got, you have him at
definitely did
6?
happen. That definitely did happen. But I don't know, Theo.
I think the best
do
takes.
think you have. I think you probably take the cake there. I don't know. Matt has.
I
some
don't know.
pretty good
Well,
takes,
it
too.
depends. This year we'll go if Burrow is bad and Tua is bad and Zach Wilson is bad and Mac Jones is bad, like then I got to.
If Mac Jones is bad, I'm gonna look so.
I feel like
good.
a lot of it remains to be seen with me. Like if all those takes end up being bad, then I will wear the crown of worst takes. But I don't think we're in that
That's fair.
proven zone yet. I did have some good takes though. Like I said, Washington would make the playoffs after week 1. I said Trey Hendrickson was the most underrated player in the league. Like I've hit on some pretty obscure takes. Matt might have the lowest miss rate, but I feel like that's because Matt's takes are a little bit
Matt is very
more
low
mundane.
risk.
I get
Low
this shit all
risk.
the time, and you guys have started convincing people it's true. No, it's not. I've had some very strong takes. I had the Suns before anybody had them picked for a really
You did.
long time.
I picked the Hawks. I picked the Hawks.
You did do that.
So I feel like my takes are not all that bad. I have some good basketball takes.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that your takes are probably the best right now, but I feel like if I hit on all of mine, it'll be me.
What I would be scared about if I was you, Theo, is people remember analysts for their worst takes, not their best ones. Nobody
I know.
cares if you're right. All you got to do is be wrong
I get
one
DMs
time.
all the time about the Saints.
Dude, I mean, that one might be valid, but like, if you talk about every quarterback every year, eventually you're going to be super, super wrong on a guy. That's why, every single draft analyst is hated because it's like, well, if you do it for a decade. So
Yeah,
I know.
that's
I
totally
know.
fair. But that was the Stay Hotline presented by our friends at Mint Mobile. And now we've all made the switch to Mint Mobile. And I was trying to think of a way to like make it a Stay Hot pun, but the only thing I could come up with is that it's fire, which is
That's the
kind of
opposite of mints.
Yeah, but
no,
like
there was no. There was a time when we were in Vegas doing the episode where I made a joke and Theo had to go wah wah wah, but then Blaiden does that and there's no response to it. That was a garbage pun.
Listen,
if
man,
I get called out, you get called out, Blaiden.
Listen, man.
Was it
like,
fire?
Blatant. This is the blatant hate episode so far.
I don't know. The point is we all love Mint Mobile here.
We do.
We all love Mint Mobile.
Mint
Mint
Mobile
Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk and text, along with high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. And if you're not 100% satisfied, Mint Mobile has you covered with their 7-day money-back guarantee. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/stayhot. That's mintmobile.com/stayhot. Once again, cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/stayhot. Matt, you wanted to talk about college football,
I did.
and we watched a pretty good game last night.
I didn't want to talk about the game last night. I mean,
What? Mackenzie Milton played, and he was like not supposed to play ever again.
what happened on a Saturday around 3:30?
Matt, we're not talking.
Cincinnati, Ohio.
You know, Matt. I watched the Alabama Miami game, and I can say that Miami did not look as good as I thought they would.
All I'm saying is Cincinnati looks legit. They look like a top 10 team, or how a top 10 team is supposed to look against a lesser opponent, a MAC team. And my Ritter Heisman take is only aging well, at least 1 week through the season.
So is my Chris Olave Heisman. So is my Chris Olave Heisman take.
I'm wondering if some of the other big Heisman candidates though did take kind of a big hit this opening weekend. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Obviously, it's like a long season, but DJ, what is his last name? It's killing me.
I have no idea. How to pronounce
Clemson's
it. Don't ask me.
quarterback. It's totally slipping me.
It's like Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a
It's
really
like,
rough
I
game.
apologize, but like
Spencer Rattler he didn't have a rough game, but there's definitely some questions about
It's
Rattler got away with one interception that probably should have cost them the game. Like Tulane, I thought was going to win, and Rattler threw a pick, and it got called back for pass interference, which really should have been pass interference on the receiver. He just like pushed down the DB.
Yeah.
DJ Wiangalale is.
Thank you.
Good job, Theo.
And I'm not saying it's necessarily all his fault. The offensive line obviously had their struggles or whatnot. And Georgia's defense just played like crazy, but you still got to figure you only get a handful of big games. And if you can't put up big numbers and get wins in those, it's just tough to win Heisman.
Especially with Clemson, like the way that their schedule looks the rest of the way, easy. So when the Heisman narrative starts, you're going to be like, how can you give it to the guy who is bad and is only tough? Like not even just bad, but like really couldn't get anything moving at all. So,
well, I mean, I guess outside of the Heisman storylines, though, Alabama looks way, way better than everybody. And I think Ohio State might, I don't want to be biased and say like Ohio State is okay, but I watched them. I didn't feel very, very good about them. Their defense looked really, really rough. And Stroud was spotty. And the receivers are so great that it doesn't matter. But I don't know. Georgia looked good, but their offense didn't do anything. And I think Clemson will still end up making the playoffs because, and this is why I hate the 14 playoff. This game didn't really kill them all that much. All they have to do is beat some ACC teams and they're cool.
Hey, they still got to play Florida State though.
Texas is back. Hudson Card is it. Their running back is it. How about that? They'll make the playoffs.
You think?
Yes, sir. Go Texas. I'm a big Texas fan. They definitely didn't ruin college football, like Matt said. They're going to fix it. Come on. No. Anyway, yes. Good weekend of college football though. Wisconsin. I'm like a secondary Wisconsin fan. That was a fun game. I liked that they let their quarterback Jack Cohen go for Mertz, and then Mertz just absolutely sucked, and then Cohen looked awesome for Notre Dame. Wisconsin could honestly be a playoff team if they made the right quarterback choice, but they didn't, and they lost, and now they're not going to make it. So unfortunate.
Honestly, the most exciting thing for me was watching Mackenzie Milton play. Like that was the highlight of the weekend for me. I can't lie.
I think, I mean, it's just so cool when a guy's able to come back from an injury like that. And he looked pretty good.
That's what I'm saying. And he came back and he looked pretty good. He made some costly plays near the end.
He did. Yeah, he did have that one fumble, but overall he was good. I thought that the Florida State looked a lot better than they have in the past. There were some last couple of years where Florida State has looked terrible.
A joke.
Yeah, and they put up a very good fight. They very easily could have won that game. I can't remember his name either. That safety for Notre Dame.
Yes.
That guy looks nuts.
Yeah,
new JOK just dropped.
PFF talked about him 2 weeks ago, and I remember they were like, oh no, this is like, he's like their number 4 overall prospect.
That second pick where he started on the right hash and then made the pick on the left sideline was absolutely stupid ridiculous. And like he just made a beeline right there. And like a normal safety would not have done that. Like he knew
he can just cover
it.
so much. It's
range.
insane.
Yeah, no. So that was one of the more impressive plays of the weekend, most likely. Also, one of the more impressive plays of the weekend, Carson Strong for Nevada had a pass where he was on the right hash. And he threw a pass I think it went 50 yards downfield, not even counting how it went
what throw you're talking
diagonally.
About,
he was on the right hash, threw it, and led his receiver who was streaking down the left sideline. So that pass, I don't know how far it went in the air, but I mean, Carson Strong looked strong.
No, he made multiple really impressive throws.
Yes.
So maybe Carson Strong, QB1 this year. Who knows?
But yeah, so I think Georgia looks solid versus Clemson, but their offense is worrisome. Alabama looks dominant. Some other interesting stuff, but it was a really good first week of college football.
Yeah.
It wasn't ruined now that players can sign autographs. Like some worried college football would collapse into dust now that I can meet Jaden Daniels at a pizza party and he can sell his JD5 pizza. I should talk about that. The Arizona State quarterback, Jaden Daniels, he was having a pizza event, and me and my friends are like, oh, we'll go to the Jade Daniels pizza event. And he was selling his JD5 pizza, like the McDonald's meal, but it was at some pizza place in Tempe.
That's actually kind of cool.
And we show up there, and he's just sitting there. Like, we show up at the end, there was no line to go see him, and it was it was more awkward just to go up and talk to him. And I asked him what was on the JD5 pizza, because I didn't even know. And he told me it was a surprise. I'm like, you don't even know what's on it, do you? And he's like, yeah, I do know. But he wouldn't tell me. It was like mushrooms and sausage and pepperoni. It was good. It was a good pizza.
Was it good pizza?
It was a good pizza. So good for him. Anyway, Pac-12 looks pretty weak, but that's a story for another day.
That's a story for another day. But I think it's time we hop into the NFL opener with Thursday Night Football. Now, I guess the big storyline, or I guess the two big storylines here are A, Dak is back, and we're going to see if, he's going to be able to pick up where he left off. And then B, if the Bucs are going to be able to pick up where they left off, just winning the Super Bowl. This is probably about as good of an season opener as you could get.
It's a pretty good one.
Zach Martin is out with COVID. That's big.
Not good.
That's very big considering the Bucs defensive line. Like, I feel that might be might be one that the Bucs can't, or the Cowboys can't overcome. That's huge.
Yeah, especially like Zach Martin is arguably the league's best, guard. So it's gonna be
best. He's arguably the best lineman, point blank. Period. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's gonna be hard to overcome. I don't know. I feel like their offense is still like really just so deep with weapons.
But I could say the same thing about the Buccaneers offense. I really don't trust the Cowboys defense to stop them from doing much. So I think it'll just come down to, can Tampa Bay make a couple big plays on defense and get a couple possessions to go their way defensively. And then if they can, we're going to see maybe some more of that like fourth quarter garbage time, what people will call it, stuff where it ends up like being a super high scoring game, but it wasn't super, super close. I feel like I have Bucs by 10 in a shootout.
I think that's a pretty good bet. I am super high on the Bucs. I think they're ridiculously stacked. I would say that I think that the Bucs secondary is their weakest link. You obviously remember when Tyreek Hill went for 200 and a quarter against them. That can be exploited. Yep. All right, their secondary can be exploited, and Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup are the guys to do it, and Dak. So I do think that if anyone can beat the Cowboys, it's someone with a really deep receiver group who can really put up yards on that secondary. But with Zach Martin out now, like, it's like, I don't know. I don't like it. I feel like
that front seven's so tough. Like, I agree with you 100%. I don't think this is an unwinnable game for the Cowboys, but they need that offensive line to play a perfect game because you really only need a couple sacks. And this is Dak's first real game off a big injury. I feel like that kind of sucks, especially with no Martin. So I like I said, I have the Bucs, but I don't think the Cowboys would be an unreasonable pick.
I'm picking the Bucs too. I don't know, what the score will be. I don't like picking scores. I think it's like
just an added complication.
It's just like it's mostly arbitrary. You can kind of say, oh, it'll be high scoring, it'll be low scoring, based on offenses, offensive power or defensive power, whatever. But I don't know. I'll take the Bucs. Maybe. Just for the sake of it, I'll say Bucs by 4.
I will agree with you, Matt, but I can't say the exact same thing. I'll say Bucs by 11. But I agree with the general sentiment. I feel
like it's going to come down to like a Hail Mary. Dak's going to have to like convert a Hail Mary, and maybe it doesn't quite work out. Maybe it does. Maybe the Cowboys win.
I think Dak will look good, though. No matter what happens, though. I don't anticipate Dak coming back and looking bad. I think that he really will, unless it's just like he looks like Mahomes did in the Super Bowl and the offensive line just gets torched. But
even then, it wouldn't be Dak looking bad. It would just be like nothing is possibly working for him.
Martin being out is a big deal, but I don't think that offensive line is as bad as the Chiefs was in the Super Bowl.
Nowhere near it.
I think Dak looks pretty good as well.
Yes.
All right. So I think that kind of leads us in to the biggest chunk of this episode, which is our full final playoff predictions for this NFL season. basically the way this is going to work is each of us are going to give our seeds for each conference. Then we're going to state our winners of the playoff matchups based on those seeds. And then we're going to finish it off, of course, with the Super Bowl game and the Super Bowl champions. So let's start with the NFC. We'll start with you, Matt. Who are your wild card teams? 7, 6, and 5.
At 5, I have the Seahawks. I've said that I doubt them a little bit because I feel like defensively that roster is meh. But Russell Wilson plus really good weapons has been a pretty solid formula in the past, and I don't think that changes now. I don't have them winning the division, but I have them close. With the 6th seed, I have the Vikings. I think that roster looks really talented. I think last year was kind of a down year for them. I think they'll bounce back somewhat. And then at the 7th seed, I wanted to pick a couple upsets, right? I have Washington football team making it back in the playoffs again. I think our big criticism of them on here is like, it's tough to have a great defense, like the best defense in back-to-back years. And I get that. But that defense really didn't, they still have a ridiculous defensive line. They added a linebacker that we love. Their quarterback situation literally could only get better. I think Curtis Samuel is a huge add.
I don't know if I would say their quarterback situation couldn't. That's my biggest criticism of Washington is their quarterback situation.
I'm saying like it only could get better from last year.
Yeah,
that's what.
And he's right about that.
I suppose
Alex Smith was a nice story.
Yeah, Alex Smith
he was
kind of a nice
the worst starting quarterback and the most limited. Couldn't push the ball down the field.
It was very tough to watch. Now he is awesome for coming back.
No disrespect to Alex Smith, but like let's be real.
He didn't even like drop back normally. He didn't move the same way that he had before. And even if you don't trust Fitzpatrick, I think that he'll be an upgrade. I really believe Curtis Samuel. His separation is crazy. He's a crazy deep threat. Get some of the attention off McLaurin, and they've got Logan Thomas too. They've got some solid weapons too. And their schedule, they don't have the hardest schedule in the world. I look at the teams they have to play, and they've got some tough ones. You know, Cowboys are going to be tough. They play the Bucs, I believe, but they have a lot of winnable games. So I think a 7 seed very possible for them.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And I'm a big Ron Rivera believer. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Got to back my guy.
Big Ron Rivera guy. Anytime a team is like part Panther, Matt's like, that's my guy.
A little bit, but I genuinely do think that Ron Rivera is just the right coach for the Washington football team. And I think he has built that team in a way that fits what he wants to do very, very well. With that defensive line and Jamin Davis coming in there, I like it.
That's totally fair. Theo?
For my playoff teams, at the 5 seed, I got the Vikings. I think it'll be a dogfight for the NFC North. There's just so much talent on that team. The upgrades that they made on the defensive line with Hunter, Pierce, Tomlinson, and Sheldon Richardson all getting added, it's an unmeasurable improvement on the defensive line. Anthony Barr should be coming back, but I assume he'll be in and out of the lineup like he always is. Jefferson and Thielen are still, an elite wide receiver duo. And then you've got Dalvin, Kirk Cousins. My one concern is the offensive line. It is not good. It's never been good, especially pass blocking. At run blocking, they're okay. Pass blocking, they're not. All right. And when you get in these 3rd and long situations, and when you're trailing and you need to throw the ball in the second half, can the offensive line not just get pushed back into Cousins immediately? So that's my one concern with them, is that pass blocking offensive line. But that has kind of always been the case with this Vikings team, and they've been able to put forward good offenses despite that. Will it prevent them from going on? I think it'll prevent them from going on a Super Bowl run, but in the regular season, I still think they can pile up some wins. So I got them as the 5 seed. At the 6 seed, I got the Rams. I got the Rams. I think, obviously on the defense, you've still got Ramsey and Donald. So that's good. Darius, why can't I think of his name? They've got a really good number 2 corner, Darius. I'm forgetting the name. We're blanking on names today.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
Bad news.
It's early in the morning. But anyway, and then I think Stafford is such an upgrade over Goff. They made the playoffs last year and upgraded quarterback. Darius Williams, that's right. Yes. Anyway, they made the playoffs last year, upgraded the quarterback situation. I think they did lose a lot of talent on defense. I don't think it'll be quite as dominant as it was last year, but I still think they'll be the 6th seed. And then at my 7th seed, I got another NFC West team, and that's the 49ers.
That was my first team out.
Yeah, and the 49ers are a team I've been critical of in the past, but I don't know. I'm a big Lance believer, and I think that he'll see some starts, and that'll add a lot to their offense. I'm kind of banking on that to happen. I think the rushing game will be really strong. Ayuk and Tebow will be, back, picking up yak, and I think it'll just be a buzzsaw, the offense. And on defense, I don't think it'll be quite as good as it was in 2019, but I still think with Nick Bosa coming back, the cornerback room had a nice training camp and preseason.
They just added Josh Norman.
Yes, they did just add Josh Norman. Yeah, exactly. They needed some guys in that cornerback room. I think that it'll be good enough to have kind of a league average defense and a slightly above average offense, and I think that's good enough to make the 7 seed. So Vikings, Rams, 49ers. I had
49ers as a top 7 team, and the only reason I left them out is one, because I didn't want to pick, the most basic teams. I got to pick some upsets, but their schedule is also really hard. I think that's a big challenge for them. NFC West is crazy.
I had the 49ers as a 9, as the 9th team in the NFC. And they're not a bad team. It's just like, it's such a hard division. It really is.
Well, you see, because you're big on big on Kyler Murray, so you gotta.
I'm up big on the Cardinals right now. So I was up on them like even before I was making like Kyler MVP talks. So like, yeah, I mean, I just don't have the 49ers making the playoffs. I'll say that. But my 5 seed is also the Seahawks, Matthew. Russell Wilson's obviously phenomenal. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett are awesome. One of my favorite receiver duos in the league. I think the biggest problem is probably going to be that defense, but their offense is so out of this world, high powered with just Russ, DK, and Lockett alone, and not to mention Chris Carson's obviously really good. So I think they're good enough definitely to make the 5 seed. The 6 seed I have Arizona. I know I'm like really big on them, and I'm not going to predict them to be like 15-2 and win the NFC and do all that. I just think that like in a best case scenario, Kyler, could lead them to that. But I have them as the 6th seed. I do think they're a really good team though. And then the 7th seed, I have Minnesota. I do think Minnesota is going to make a push for the NFC North. I think Theo put it best. It is going to kind of be a dogfight. I have them at 11-6, and I have the Packers at 12-5. So I think it'll kind of come down to one game, and I don't think Minnesota's going to be able to win it. Their O-line isn't quite. I think Theo kind of just hit on everything about Minnesota. Their O-line isn't quite good enough to kind of go toe to toe with the best teams, but they still have a ton of talent offensively.
Is Darisaw starting week 1?
I don't know. I would guess no.
Even if he is, that's not enough to drastically improve your entire offensive line.
No, I was just wondering about it.
It's like,
no, I think he's doing some one-on-one work with Zimmer because he didn't see like any reps anywhere in training camp. It's a really bad start for his career, and their backup tackle is really bad. Like, Trey Hendrickson has an opportunity to really wreak some havoc on them for week 1.
Yeah, so those are my 5 through 7. So next, the division winners who aren't the number 1 seed.
Let's just do all the division winners because people will be able to figure it out. Yeah, because people will be able to figure. You can process of elimination figure out the last one for us.
Okay. Let's do 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't give away the 1 seed right away.
My 4 seed, I have the Cowboys. I agree that their offense, if they can stay healthy, is going to be nuts, and that's going to make them the best team in a conference that not super, super tough all around. But I'm not quite as high on them as maybe you are, Theo. It's easy to forget how rough that defense was last year. It was bad, and things were tough for them. I'll still bet on Dak Prescott and those receivers, and if that offensive line stays healthy, I think that's so crazy good or whatever. But I don't know. I can't see him. I guess not that I can't see him, but
people were bashing on Theo and I for
understandably so, dude. The Cowboys are one of those teams that always burns you, and I know that. That's why I've got them as a 4 seed. It's not that I don't believe in the roster on offense. It's just that I got to take the on paper stuff.
Last year, my Super Bowl prediction was Cowboys Ravens.
Yeah, I had the Cowboys going far last year too. I thought that offense looked insane, but it did not work out like that.
Yeah, it did not work out at all.
At 3, I've got the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford completely changes life for that offense. Just totally different team. I really think that McVay is it just gives him so many more options. And I know they lost some pieces on defense, but Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey just seems like it's going to be a good defense. So I have some faith in them. 2 seed, I've got the Packers. They're running it back, and they were really good last year. I see them being about as good as they were, honestly. And then at the 1 seed, I have the Buccaneers. That roster is the most stacked in the league by a lot. Even with maybe we're just saying like an average secondary, the front 7 is too good. It's too good. It's so stacked. And then having Brady and having all those weapons and a perfect offensive line is just dumb. So it's tough for me to pick anything other than them as the 1 seed.
Yeah. My list is not all that different. At the 4 seed for me, I have the Packers. And this is not because I don't think the Packers aren't stacked. They are. It's just the Packers' schedule is so ridiculously difficult. Like after week 6, it goes Washington, Arizona, Kansas City, Seattle, Minnesota, the Rams, the Bears, the Ravens, the Browns, the Vikings again, and the Lions.
I'll give it that.
That's like every team except for like 1, maybe 2 are playing.
And in the first half, they've got teams that I think they can beat, but still could be difficult is the Saints, the 49ers, and the Steelers. So like that's why I've got them as a 4 seed, because I think they might have the best tackle, corner, wide receiver, quarterback in the league. You know, their secondary with Amos and Savage is looking good. Like everything looks good on paper. And I think they're stacked, and I think they're Super Bowl contenders, as you'll find out. But like, as far as the seeding goes, that's a ridiculously tough schedule. So I've got them at the 4 seed. At the 3 seed, I have the Cowboys. Again, I still am not in love with with their division. I think there's a lot of easy wins in there for them. I think that, we're projecting a comeback player of the year type of, we saw the Dak MVP take that we all liked last year. The path is there. The weapons are there. Once Zach Martin comes back, which he should pretty quickly from COVID, you've got Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins, Zach Martin, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Like, it should just slice through some of these defenses like butter, in my opinion. The defense, I don't know why I feel weirdly. Maybe it's being a Packer fan. I've seen a lot of dynamic offenses with horrible defenses be really good regular season teams. Like, it happens all the time with the Packers. Yeah. So and McCarthy's Packers even. So I'm kind of seeing the same thing here with the Cowboys, where they're a really dangerous regular season team. They put up a lot of points with a good quarterback and weapons. In the playoffs, I don't know if they're going to make a run. I think they kind of get punched in the mouth, and maybe they're an early exit. But in the regular season, I think their seeding I got them as the 3 seed. At the 2 seed, I got the Seahawks. They were they could have in the 1 seed last year with a couple weeks left to go. Like maybe in the last week of the season, they would have needed a couple breaks, but they were like in the conversation for the 1 seed the whole year. And I know the defense looks sus, but in the first half of last season, their defense was like atrocious, like historically terrible. And they were still like a really good team record wise. And then in the second half, their offense kind of collapsed and their defense looked better. So this year I'm kind of projecting a really good Seahawks team where it's kind of a marriage between the two. And I think they're going to be really dangerous, where their defense maybe is not quite as bad as it was in the first half of last year. It looks more like the second half, and the offense isn't quite as bad. I'm kind of predicting the best of both worlds here for them.
The one thing I would say about that, the difference, I believe their division is a lot tougher this year. I think so too. Year. I think it's a lot tougher this year.
I think so too. So maybe they lose a couple in the division, but I don't know. I see them being a really dangerous team. I see a lot of wins on their
you want to talk early on. Like they play Tennessee week 2, Minnesota week 3, 49ers week 4.
WWW.
It's like, even if they
I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know. I have them as the 2 seed. I'm really high on them. And then number 1, I do have the Bucs. Getting Vita Vea back. Chris Godwin wasn't even healthy last year. Antonio Brown for the full season. It's another room to grow for a very young. They have one of the youngest secondaries in the league. So, I mean, they could even make a jump. year to
And
year.
then what the
So
hell
like,
you can even do?
if they make a jump, then it's like, okay, it's over for everyone else. But so I've got the Bucs as the 1 seed, and they do have a very easy schedule somehow because it's Tom Brady.
They somehow managed to get I tweeted this out like as I was going through my predictions, and like I was like, isn't it?
I think I disagreed with you, but I think I looked at stats and I'm like, oh, they do have like the second easiest schedule.
Yeah, it was like
Because
their
the
schedule
NFC
is
South
so
is weak
unbelievably
right now.
easy.
It's not that good.
Yeah, it's Brady sold his soul to the same devil as Nick
Brady sold his
Saban.
soul.
Like it's ridiculous how many breaks they catch. But I mean,
it's insane. But my 4 seed, I have Dallas. I'm always a believer in Dallas. I don't know why. I've never once been given a reason to believe in Dallas. I always get burned.
2000. Well, they made the playoffs. There's not a ton of teams who've
That's
had more
true.
wins since Dak got. They were the one seed a couple years ago.
They've been good with Dak, and when Dak's healthy, that offense is humming. The question is their defense. Now I've heard that Micah Parsons looks really good.
Yeah, he does.
That's what I've been told is that Micah looks
Jalen
awesome.
Smith is like their third string linebacker.
That sucks. I like Jalen Smith.
He's fine.
But if Micah Parsons is good for them, that'll be a really big improvement. My 3 seed is Green Bay.
Yep.
They're probably going to be about as good as they were last. There's not much to say about them. Their offense is obviously really, really good. Aaron Rodgers, top 2, top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Devontae Adams, top 2, top 3 receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, stacked. Loaded.
It's just, and literally every major position, you can be like, yeah, that's probably a top 2, top 3 player.
Yeah, Aaron Jones. Yeah, loaded team.
Yeah, and then at number 2, this is the only thing that we're gonna have a little bit different. I have the Bucs at number 2.
Is there any reason for that?
The expectation for Tampa Bay is that they just come out and they're just off the walls good. They just beat the bricks off everybody. Beat the brakes. I always say beat the bricks. It's beat the brakes. Beat the brakes off everybody. And I just don't think that's the case. Repeating a Super Bowl is hard. I don't care how good you are. Repeating is unbelievably difficult.
Is there a little bit of how good you are? It
does matter, but I have them at 13-4, right? So they're obviously going to be a good team.
I think they're the most. I don't know. I get that it is hard to repeat, but typically,
okay,
it's also hard to
Matt,
be one
we
of
were
the best
talking.
teams.
We were talking earlier about how they almost lost to Washington with a never before seen Taylor Heineke at quarterback.
I don't know if that was an almost lose situation. I was talking
about how some of their playoff games were a little bit closer than maybe people want to make it out to be, and they're not unbeatable, but they're still the most talented team with the most experienced quarterback with a very easy schedule.
Yeah,
I can't.
No, I agree. I just don't. I don't know. And I don't know. There are just some games where I'm like, you know what? I don't think they're winning that one. But I do think they're still a very good team. They could make a push for the 1 seed. But my 1 seed is the Rams. I'm putting my faith in Stafford. Matt said he's going to totally change that offense. I agree to a larger extent. Matt, you said that I take a take and I take it to the extreme. I'm going to do that again.
Say they're going to go undefeated.
No, they're going to go 14-3. They're a very good team. Defense last year they were the deepest secondary in football, and I know they lost pieces, but that means their secondary is still very good, right? Even if they're not as deep, they're still one of the best defenses in the NFL. Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey have been the most consistent at their position, playing at a high level for years. I find it very hard to believe that they take a step back in any way, shape, or form. And Stafford and McVay have only hit it off to this point. So I find it really hard to believe that they don't hit the ground running and just take over.
Fair enough.
I can see. I mean, we all have the Rams in the playoffs. I have them as a wild card just because. I mean, I've said this before, but Stafford is 8-68 against teams with a winning record. And again, I'm not a big quarterback wins guy, but that is such a bad record that I'm a little bit concerned.
Play for the Lions.
They lost Staley, who's a fantastic defensive coordinator. They lost John Johnson, a fantastic safety. They lost their depth corner to the Browns, actually. Yeah. And that they ran a lot of dime, and he was a big reason why they were able to do that. They lost Cam Akers. I have to see them more as a wild card type of team than a number one overall seed type of team. But I do respect it. I do. They were my Super Bowl pick before, but I've cooled on them a little bit.
Do we want to get into the playoffs now for on the NFC side?
And NFC wild card weekend, 7 versus 2. Matt.
I would have the Packers versus the Washington football team. And any team with that strong of a defense can put up a good fight, but I'm not going to pick against Aaron Rodgers in that one. I think he goes out and gets that game.
Totally fair. Theo?
2 versus 7 seed is Seahawks 49ers. And I went through this on my TikTok. I think the Seahawks will win.
Okay. Yeah, I figure we don't have to go too in depth on each one. My 7 versus 2 is Vikings and Bucs. And as much as I would love to pick against Tom Brady, I'm pretty sure the Bucs are going to win that game. 6 versus 3. Matt, who you got?
Got Rams, Vikings, and I've got the Rams taking that one. Again, I just think they're the more talented team.
I've got Cowboys versus Rams there, and the Cowboys are the division winner and the Rams are the wild card team. But I think that the Cowboys kind of get kicked in the mouth with a real opponent there. McCarthy chokes in the playoffs, as he tends to do. So I've got the Rams advancing.
I have Green Bay and Arizona. And this is going to be very...
Oh, God. This is Packers versus Cardinals playoff games. Give me severe.
Packers versus Cardinals. And I know Theo's like, oh, my God. Like, please, no. But I'm going to pick Green Bay here as much as I want to pick Kyler. And it would like age really well with my MVP take and whatnot. But, I think in a realistic scenario, there's obviously best case scenario, worst case scenario. I like to pick kind of middle ground. And in that middle ground scenario, I don't think the Cardinals are good enough to beat the Packers. And the Packers move on. So that leaves us with the 5 versus 4.
I've got Seahawks, Cowboys. I've got Seahawks, Cowboys. I'm going Seahawks. They're just more experienced.
I've got Packers, Vikings, and those are two teams that are loaded with talent at the top of the level. But I think the Packers' offensive line gives them an edge, and I'd have the Packers advancing there. And they'd be battle tested at this point. That's
fair. I also have Seahawks, Cowboys, except I'm going to pick Dallas. As much, that's the one thing that's a little bit off kilter. It's like picking Dallas to beat Seattle. But I'm going to put my faith in Dak. And even though I have been burned by Dallas before, I'm gonna put my faith in Dak Prescott to prevail with that offense.
It's not totally unreasonable.
I don't think it is. So that moves us to the divisional round.
You just want to say both of our games instead of trying to do seed by seed, because now it's going to be
because the seed will change now.
All right, my 2 divisional round games are the Packers versus the Rams, and I think that's a very close one. But Matthew Stafford does not have the playoff experience that Aaron Rodgers does, and I think I just have a very slight edge to Green Bay. I do kind of think that they're going all in this season. If you want to beat Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, you need a great receiver and you need a great offensive line, and the Packers have both those things. So I think I would go with Green Bay in a close one there.
I guess that's totally fair.
Yeah, I mean, they've seen Stafford before. They've seen plenty of him. And yeah, they tend to have success against the Lions.
In my other game, I was going to do both mine at this.
Yeah.
In my other game, I have Seahawks, Buccaneers. And again, Buccaneers are the most talented team with a week of rest. Give me Buccaneers in that one.
I have got Bucs versus Rams, 1 seed versus 6 seed there. And I would go with the Bucs here. Again, I've outlined my problems with the Rams and my not so many problems with the Bucs. And then I would have the Packers versus the Seahawks. And Packers versus Seahawks is another matchup that gives me extreme PTSD and makes me shake and scream and yell thinking about it, and killed me in 2014 to the point where I don't feel anything when the Packers lose anymore. But I do have the Packers winning this game. Again, I think it's the Packers and the Bucs are the two juggernauts when I look at those rosters. And I think you could make the serious case. And a lot of Packers fans don't want to hear it because they want to make the Aaron Rodgers as the martyr who never has anything good happen to him. But the Packers, I think, had the best team in football last year when you even better than the Bucs. Or they're the only team with a roster that rivals the Bucs when you look at how stacked they are, like in every area. Kenny Clark, Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, great running back, offensive line, top wide receiver, top corner, like everywhere. So I've got the Packers winning this one, and that's a juggernaut matchup once again in the NFC Championship game.
Well, my playoff games, Theo, I'm about to give you more PTSD. First one, Packers, Bucs. And
there's so many Packers matchups that just like no one has the heartbreaking losses that the Packers do, and I live by that. The Packers have dealt with
no one has the heartbreaking losses in the playoffs.
Yes, no one. Maybe the Saints. The Saints might. But
okay,
there's so many teams where I'm just like, man, I remember that just crushing playoff loss.
Except this time, the Packers win. The Packers beat the Bucs.
Hooray!
I don't think it's unreasonable. They could have won last year. I think that's very reasonable. So I think this year they get it done. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are kind of on their revenge tour, their last dance, and they get it done. My other one is Cowboys Rams. Rams have the bye. Dallas is feeling the high of winning a playoff game.
They have momentum.
And they get throttled. Matthew Stafford goes out and just totally wipes the floor with them. Dak Prescott, thinks he's going to have a great game, and then Aaron Donald says otherwise. Jalen Ramsey says otherwise. And the Rams and Packers move on to the NFC Championship game. And speaking of NFC Championship game, Matt, how's your matchup looking?
Packers, Bucs. And there's only so many NFC Championship games you can lose in a row. I kind of just think Aaron Rodgers is due. I don't know. And I feel like no team feels more life or death than the Packers this year. Like, this is it. The window is done after this year. And I know all players are given 100% all the time in the NFC Championship game, but I want to, it would be boring if I picked the Bucs again in the same NFC Championship matchup. So I'm going Packers. What the hell?
Let's go.
And they're kind of built to do it too. No, it's not impossible.
No, they are. They are stacked. They are absolutely loaded. And I'm going to say the same thing. And as a Packer fan, I think this is the last year where I can predict every year that I've been a fan of a football, I can pick the Packers to make the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. And it's not a horrible take because they've been a Super Bowl caliber team for the last decade. This is probably the last year I'll be able to do it. So I'm going to take advantage. I'm going to say that they pull it off. Third time's a charm against these Bucs. And I think, I agree with you, Matt. Okay. I think that it's the last dance and it's magic.
I think all of us picking this upset has doomed them to lose by 20.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
This is not good for us.
I have a little bit of a heartbreak for you, Theo, and the Rams versus Packers NFC Championship game. Even though Aaron Rodgers thinks it's his last dance, it's going to end abruptly. And Matthew Stafford's going to put him in his place. Aaron Donald's going to put him in his place. Jalen Ramsey's going to put him in his place. Robert Woods is going to have a great game. Cooper Kupp might even score 3 touchdowns. Who knows? And the Rams end up moving on to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Because they're like that.
All right.
But moving on to the AFC, that took a lot longer than I thought it would. We might have to kind of hustle through the AFC section. Who are your 7, 6, and 5 for the AFC?
I'm giving all my seeds right now. At the 7 seed, I've got Denver. I agree with Theo. The defense looks nice. They've got a nice roster overall. But I also do think that their offense is a little limited, even though I like the weapons on there. At the 6th seed, I have the Patriots. They won 7 games last year with literally everything possible going against them. And you could say a lot of teams had stuff go against them, but they were put in a lot of rough positions. Hightower coming back. I think Mac Jones will look okay. I agree that the receivers aren't super strong, but the receivers are also not their best weapons. And their offensive line is super, super good. That run game, they've got 4 really solid running backs. So I think it'll end up working out for them there. At the 5 seed, I have Cleveland. I believe in them this year. But I have the Ravens over them still. At the 4 seed, I have the Titans. That division is not that strong, and their offensive weapons are just too good. 3 seed, I've got the Ravens. I'm a big Lamar believer. If he can get his weapons healthy, I don't know what the Mark Andrews situation is. I don't know what the Bateman situation is, but if those guys can be healthy, I really like that offense. At the 2 seed, I have the Chiefs. They're super, super talented, but I think they miss out on the 1 seed. It's Patrick Mahomes, but I think they miss out on the 1 seed by like a game, because why not? At the 1 seed, I have the Bills. You guys know how much I believe in Buffalo. I think, like I said, I think Josh Allen is my MVP pick. So I don't know. Maybe I have him at like 14-3 and the Chiefs at 13-4.
Yeah.
Okay.
You and me are very similar. At 7, I got the Dolphins instead of the Patriots. And I think the Dolphins are kind of like, first of all, with the Patriots, I just don't know. I know that they got a lot better and they won 7 games last year, but like, I think Mac Jones is going to be kind of Andy Dalton tier. I don't like the wide receivers. The tight ends are good, but it's like, if Jonnu Smith is your best weapon, like, or I guess you could maybe say Jacoby Myers,
or like Aguilar.
Even still, like when you're in those conversations and it's like you're debating Jonnu Smith, Aguilar, or
Yeah.
or Myers, it's still like, man, I don't know. And I know the running game will be strong, but Stephon Gilmore's hurt. I'm not a huge JC Jackson guy. I don't think that he's going to be like, have all these picks again like he did last year. I think people are a little bit too high on him. Judon's in the front 7, and Barmore is a guy that I liked. But overall, I just don't see them as a play. Like on paper, I just don't see them as a playoff team. The Dolphins, I think, are kind of this year's Bears, with maybe a playoff team that sneaks in with kind of a bad offensive line and quarterback.
It's a solid pick.
Like, I don't love the Dolphins, but I don't know. When I was looking through the schedule, that's just how it ended up. And I think that's kind of like the Bears and in the Bills of years past when Josh Allen wasn't good yet, where a good defense and some decent weapons or not even the Bills didn't even have decent weapons, but you know what I mean? I think that they're kind of a sacrificial lamb at the 7 seed. I think they'll get destroyed by whoever the 2 seed is, but I got the Dolphins there instead. I got the Broncos as the 6 seed and then the Browns as the 5 seed. And I think those are 2 very legit teams that could win a game. The Browns got outscored in 2020. They literally had a negative point differential. So I think that is a kind of an overrated season for them last year. But they did make a lot of additions this year. And I think by the time the playoffs roll around, all those new additions could be gelling. So I do anticipate them being Super Bowl contenders and dangerous. I just also really like the Ravens. Like I said, Titans, too dangerous. The division isn't good enough for anyone to be above them, in my opinion. Ravens 3, Bills 2, and then I got the Chiefs at number 1. Respectable.
Theo, our ranking started off very similar. I have the Dolphins at 7. Kind of a similar reason as you. I don't think they're actually good enough to be a playoff team, but for the sake of someone has to be the 7 seed. My first team out was actually the Chargers. And I just think, the Dolphins might just be a little bit good, just quite good enough to get in. Their weapons are still pretty good. Their defense is pretty solid. It wouldn't be totally unreasonable. Denver's my 6th seed. They just barely a little bit better than, I think I have them a game better than the Chargers, and that's enough to get in. My 5 seed is Baltimore. I love Baltimore. I love Lamar, but I also hate Baltimore. And I hate that they got Lamar. But they're still a very, very good team. Definitely a Super Bowl contender. My 4 seed is Tennessee. They're going to win their division because their division isn't very good. But they do have a very, very good offense. Ryan Tannehill's a very good quarterback. A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, great receivers. And then obviously Derrick Henry is probably the best running back in football.
You know what's funny?
My 3 seed is the Buffalo Bills.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah.
The Cowboys and the Titans are not all that different.
You're right. I was thinking the same thing. The Cowboys and Titans are very similar. Their defense, I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
Although the Titans have it, not exactly the same. Obviously, like the Titans have Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean.
The Titans have Derrick Henry and the Cowboys have Ezekiel Elliott. Not quite. I
think Dak is pretty clear of Tannehill. I would think say that for some. Too. I don't know.
I would also say the Titans. I would say the Titans' defense is pretty much better than Dallas's. But
okay, well they're similar.
Maybe
different in every aspect.
But yeah. No, I can understand the similarities. At number 3, I have the Buffalo Bills. Maybe the most athletic quarterback in NFL history. Stephon Diggs is obviously fantastic. I said maybe, Theo. Don't look at me like that. I said maybe.
We'll let you get away. I like Josh Allen. Good take in my book, but
he's like built like he's built like Cam Newton. He can run dudes over. You know, we've seen him like just like throw linebackers. I mean, he can throw it like 1,000,000 yards. Like, come on.
I can't.
Like it's not that unreasonable. Don't look at me like that. But their offense is really, really good. And their defense, I do like their defense a fair amount. You know, I think Jordan Poyer is one of the more underrated safeties in football. That dude can cover the field like a satellite. I've said that before. He's an absolute monster. My 2 seed, you already know, the Cleveland Browns, man. They're definitely a Super Bowl contender. I have them winning the North. It'll be close between them and the Ravens for sure. And I think, you know, the one thing that the Browns really have to do this year is be able to beat Baltimore.
Yep.
That is the one thing we could not do last year. And, you know, we had that primetime game, and had we been able to beat that, I would have said, yep, we're here. This is our time now. I think that's going to be this year. I think we're going to get into a situation where we need to beat Baltimore, and we actually do it, and that's going to be the thing that makes us a 2 seed. And actually, if we lose to Baltimore both times, then I would say that we're probably not there. But if we can beat them, and I think we can, then we're definitely there. Then, of course, the 1 seed is the Chiefs. I was going to make the Browns the 1 seed, but the Chiefs managed to get better. They really did. And they were already, in my mind, the best team in the AFC. So, you know, it's just really hard to imagine that they don't, convert as the 1 seed again. So looking at our matchups, Matt.
Browns, Titans. I think the Titans are a very scary game for the Browns, but I do like Cleveland just a little bit better in that one. Ravens, Patriots. I'll take Ravens there. I think they're just more talented, and Lamar is too versatile. Chiefs, Denver. Denver's got, again, those strong defensive teams are very prone to pull off upsets. I'm not going to pick against Kansas City, though. If there's any, I don't know. Patrick Mahomes is good at avoiding that type of stuff. Divisional round, I got Chiefs, Ravens. I got to go Chiefs. I just think their offense can outpace the Ravens' offense. And if they get up 2-3 scores, it gets difficult for Baltimore because they don't have the weapons to keep up like that. Bills, Browns, very scary game for Buffalo. They're going to get beat if they can't handle pass rush. But I think they've just got the edge anyway. I don't think their offensive line is that bad. And I think they get it done there. And then that gets to a Chiefs-Bills AFC Championship game. And I'm taking the Bills. I'm high on the Bills. I think they're a Super Bowl contending team. They were last year. They are this year. I think they got better. I like their defensive line. I think their run defense is going to be better. So I'll say the Bills get it in a close one.
All right. I got Bills versus Dolphins. Bills. That's the 2 versus 7 seed. 3 versus 6 is Ravens, Broncos. I got Ravens beating the Broncos. 4 versus 5, I've got Titans, Browns. I think the Browns actually win that pretty easily. I think that they're so good in the trenches. It's so much better than the Titans on both sides. I think the Titans get pushed around. Browns win that. In the second round, I got Chiefs versus Browns. And the Browns made a lot of improvements, but I don't know. I've got the Chiefs winning that. I still think that they've got, Mahomes missed a lot of the second half in the playoffs last year. I wouldn't project that to happen again, and I think the Chiefs still win it. Then I got Bills versus Ravens. And for the sake of not having the exact same NFC Championship and AFC Championship as what happened last year, I'm going to take the Ravens to win that. So that gives a Chiefs versus Ravens playoff game to go to the Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs win it. Gives a Packers versus Chiefs Super Bowl for 2021 or 2022, I guess.
All right. So I guess that leaves me 7 versus 2. I have Browns, Dolphins. Browns win that pretty easily. I can't imagine a scenario in which Baker Mayfield gets beat by Tua. So I'm going to assume that doesn't happen. So leading into my 3-6, I have the Bills and Broncos. And even though I think, Matt kind of put it, the Broncos have a very, very good defense. They could make an upset. I don't think they're making an upset against the Bills. That Bills offense is way, way, way too good. And then 4 versus 5, I have the Titans and the Ravens. That rematch has kind of happened a lot. And I think it happens again. And I think the Ravens win it. They won it last year. I think they get them again. I think the Ravens are better than the Titans are right now. And then moving into the divisional round, I have the Bills and Browns. And even though, you guys might not think the Browns can beat the Bills, I do. I think the Browns absolutely can beat the Bills. I think the Browns are more versatile than the Bills. The Browns can do more things. And as much as I think the Bills' offense with Josh Allen is incredibly high-powered, I think if the Browns can control the game
what can the Browns do that the Bills can't?
Run the ball.
I would say that the Bills are, they've got a mobile quarterback, and that's pretty much the pinnacle of being versatile.
The ball and Myles Garrett. Those are the two things that the Browns have.
Myles Garrett. Now, I like Gregory Rousseau. You've put me on Gregory Rousseau, Theo, but he's not Myles Garrett. He is not Myles, at least not yet. At least not yet. And then in the other game, I have the Chiefs and Ravens. And as much as I would love to see a Browns-Ravens AFC Championship game, I think the Browns and Ravens are going to get their quote-unquote playoff game in the regular season. And I think the Chiefs are also just good enough to beat the Ravens. And I think they do. So then we have a Chiefs-Browns AFC Championship game, which is the rematch that we all want, right? That's the rematch we all want. The Browns face the Chiefs in the regular season week 1. I have the Browns losing that game. But I think in the AFC Championship game, Theo, you said that every year you've been able to pick the Packers to be a Super Bowl team because it's a reasonable pick. They've been a Super Bowl caliber team. This is the only year in my entire life I've been able to pick the Browns to be a Super Bowl team. I'm going to pick the Browns to be in the Super Bowl.
I mean, it's your pinned tweet on Twitter that they're going to win the Super Bowl, so I'd hope so.
Not shocked.
So that brings us to our Super Bowl game. Matt?
I got Bills, Packers, and I think the big thing for Buffalo is avoiding a team that is just going to, if they play the Buccaneers, don't love it. Front seven too good.
For those of you that can't see, Theo has a finger gun up to the camera pointed at Matt right now.
I'm going to go with Buffalo. I don't know.
Darius Smith, Kenny Clark, and Rashawn Gary disrespect team.
They're very good. I mean, even looking at it now, I do think Buffalo's big problem of avoiding amazing pass rush might come back to bite them. But they're just a team I believe in. Maybe they're not the favorites to win the Super Bowl, but I'll pick them because I think their odds are a little bit better than the average person. So I'll go with Buffalo. I really think Josh Allen's that amazing. I think and I know this is going to sound like a homer take. I think that this Bills team is what the 2015 Panthers were, just done better, just with an elite receiver.
Yeah,
and a little bit more complete offensive line.
Fair enough. My would be Packers, Chiefs, and I am the least biased person of the three of us. I never talk about the Packers. I never say anything good about them. And I am going to change that right now. I'm going to say the Packers win. Screw it. It's the last dance. It's meant to be. It's fate. I'm a Leo. Things work out for me. The Packers will do it.
He said, I'm a Leo.
It's written in the stars.
Did you feel that way? 2014 NFC Championship game, that being a Leo made things work out for you? Then?
No, the Leo bit is a new thing.
It really only counts once you recognize it. And now that you've recognized it, there's no way that the Packers don't win the Super Bowl.
Theo the Leo. Theodore the Leodore. In my Super Bowl prediction, I have the Browns and Rams. And like Theo said, it's my pinned tweet. The Browns will win the Super Bowl. It's written in the stars. I wrote it in the stars.
So here's our Super Bowl picks. Blaiden, his team. Theo, his team. And then me, I can't reasonably pick my team. So whichever team is the most like my team.
The most Panthers.
Now, okay, listen.
It's all reasonable, though. None of these are crazy
picks.
takes.
None of them are crazy.
Okay, do you want all of us know that the Bucs are the favorites? And we could be really boring and all pick the Bucs, but I don't know.
If the Browns were playing the Bucs, I might still I don't know if the Browns have any glaring holes on their team. Other than maybe like interior.
I seriously think the Packers beat the Bucs, though. Like, again, if I thought the Packers
I picked you guys
weren't
with the
here,
Bucs.
like I said, I do not pick the Packers very often, and I don't talk about the Packers very often. But I seriously do feel like they're loaded, and like, yes, I know it's a bad look for us right now, but
this is not our. It's not our finest moment.
These are all
it
valid.
will be my finest moment. The Browns are winning the Super Bowl.
Well, Blaiden, we already knew. It's the two of us who are being disappointing, Matt.
I think we're picking very reasonable teams. I think that there's very reasonable arguments for all those guys. And it's the NFL. Everyone understands that a lot of these games are going to come down to a couple plays that are happening 6 months from now. We don't know like who's going to be healthy and stuff. So I like all of our picks.
The only thing I know for sure is that the Browns will win the Super Bowl. Okay. I wrote it in the stars. It's going to happen. But that wraps things up for us. As always, tons and tons of content coming your way on all platforms. We'll be back Friday to give you predictions and our thoughts on week 1 of the NFL season. Don't miss out on all the great content that is coming your way on all platforms. And as always, from the greatest sports podcasts in the world, Corn Boy, Lemon Boy, and Dunk Boy, we haven't figured out a food name for you yet. Are we going to? Because someone made a something.
If there was going to be one, it would have to be strawberries because I work at the strawberry farm.
From that's probably where my expertise is. Lemon Boy, and Berry Boy. We'll catch you on the flippity flop.